Hello, hello. My name is Randell Adjei. It's awesome to share some poetry with you today. I am an author, a speaker, and I've been doing spoken word for the past 10 years. This is my art form. It's something I really, really love. Recently, I was appointed as Ontario's first poet laureate, and so it just brings me a lot of joy to share this poetry with you all today. My poetry is really rooted in this idea of alchemy, this idea of transforming pain into power, of being able to take the negative things in life and use them as an opportunity, or finding the seeds of opportunity in the adversity. And so this first poem is called I Am an Artist. It focuses on the idea of really being able to hone in on the fact that we are creators, that we are able to make the life we live better just because we're here, essentially, and that we can create the type of life that we want to be able to make, all right? So this is called I'm an Artist. Whether you identify as an artist or not, you're a creator. You make magic every single day, all right? I am an artist, and I don't have any time to be silent. No time to allow these words to asphyxiate my ancestry. Amidst this violence, amidst this despair, I can't deny the world my gift because of fear. You can't deny the world your gift because of fear. Living a life of purpose and service cannot and will not die with my gift still in here. Inspired by my pain and how close death came. Images of a tombstone inscribed with my name. Just then I snapped back to a new era, a new lane, and then my real eye realized that I could be the one to make a change, because see, I am an artist, creator of lyrical calligraphy. Take you on a journey with my soliloquies. Literary imageries full of healing. May my words add meaning to your life, and the thoughts you left behind with the things that I write, may my words penetrate your soul, levitate your being beyond the thoughts that you think you know. Because see, if you ignore the call of your dreams, it can be lethal. If you ignore the call of your dreams, it can be lethal, especially when you tell your big dreams to small-minded people. Because see, pumping in the depths of me is my artistry, this life-giving gift that I was given. Man, how can I deny the world the gift of the Creator's imprint? How dare I suppress the talents etched in the flesh of my chest? Am I not grateful? Do I not cherish it? Randell, have you not realized that this is a ticket to your exodus? See, when chasing our dreams, sometimes we'll ask, is it worth it? But have you not realized that by not doing it, you are causing the world a disservice, a failure to fulfill your purpose? Because see, I am an artist, persistently pushing pens and pencils, living in my purpose, practicing my pure potential. See, we artists, we have to get creating when the world is devastated. We are the beacons of hope, healing to suicide notes. Man, we change people's lives with this gift. So no matter how rough it gets, don't quit. Know that you can push beyond the limits. You are an image of the infinite. Every choice that we make fulfills our life's pages. See, the road ahead is gonna be tough, but remain patient. Know that you are designing magic in the making. So in the blueprint of your story is red. Will it free others from the matrix? Thank you very much. That was my first poem called I Am an Artist. And the idea behind that, as I mentioned, is really about owning and taking ownership of our ability to create the world that we want to live and living a life of purpose, essentially. This next poem, I think, relates to a lot of folks during this pandemic. I know for me, the pandemic and quarantine and just navigating social isolation was challenging for many people. And so it gave me an opportunity to look within myself, and I recognize some of the things that I was working through from my childhood into adolescence and into, where I am today. This piece is called Brokenness, and it focuses on having an alchemist mindset. I know too many broken people broke into pieces they think they cannot fix. And like shattered glass, they may cut you when you try to uplift, slicing the helping hands, hoping to heal the harm that's happened to them. They often hurt in silence, then smile in your face today, but tomorrow you may hear of how their brokenness has escalated into acts of violence. We often judge these broken people and then call them names. Label them, sometimes forgetting like flipping a coin, they too can change. But what does it really mean to be broken when it is broken people that have helped mend the world? I realize that in our brokenness is when our true lives unfurl. Because see, brokenness is a sign of recreation. It is a sign of growth. But we fear brokenness because we fear the unknown and the uncertainty. But brokenness can piece our wholes together perfectly, sometimes permanently. After all, if you have never known brokenness, then how would you know when you're a whole? If you've never been broken, then how would you measure your growth? So I just want to repeat those last two lines again. It says, if you've never known brokenness, then how would you know when you're a whole? If you've never been broken, then how would you measure your growth? And I think it's this essence of understanding that it's in these dark times that we find our light. It's by going through a broken situation that you really figure out what it means to be whole again, or to be whole for the first time. And when I think about brokenness, I think about my own childhood and some of the challenges that I went through. And I feel like many of us are like seeds. And what I mean by that is, when you think of a seed, it has a potential to turn into just about anything. But what you have to do is to take the potential out of the seed, you have to plant it into the darkness of the soil. When you take that seed and plant it in the darkness of the soil, it will break, it will crack, and the potential inside will root itself into the darkness. And eventually it will find this light. And that's what many of us will have to go through in our lives. Because at the end of the day, adversity is inevitable. You're gonna face challenges in your life. It doesn't care about how old you are, where you live in the world, how kind you are. If you help the old lady cross the street, you're gonna face adversity. And it's not because you did anything, but it's because there's an opportunity to grow. And so one of the biggest moments for me in my growth was my relationship with my father. And I think about, the tough moments we had, and throughout this pandemic, our relationship got a lot better. And so I share this poem more in hindsight, but also in thanks to my father and the relationship we have today. But I know that there's a lot of people that are still navigating some difficult experiences, some difficult challenges when it comes to, relationships with their parents and their mom and father. And I hope this offers some sense of healing. My father is a broken child, too afraid to face the mistakes of his past, too afraid to accept and acknowledge the children he scarred and wounded with his shattered pieces, too afraid to deal with his demons, to even look me in the eyes and accept that he is the reason his shallow heart nearly drowned my mother in the deep end. I empathize with what my mother had to endure. His words and his actions made her very insecure. I mean, clearly he's aged, but not matured. For so long, I walk around with a sense of neglect. A juvenile delinquent with no sense of purpose. I was working for a love from my father because I felt I had to earn it. So I sought for ways to get his attention. After school detentions turned to suspensions and then getting arrested, just hoping he would sit and teach me a lesson, just sit and talk with me. Help me try to understand why I felt so awkwardly. I mean, I felt diseased and I thought he could doctor me. But see, the older I get, the clearer I see him. Another broken child with little to believe in. After years of reflection, I called him to tell him that I forgive him because I expected things of him he wasn't given. I held him high on a pedestal he never even knew existed and then expected him to know it and live it. But see, our parents can only give us the best they know how. So I forgave him and I forgave myself because I know this now. And after pouring my heart over the phone, he was speechless, said he called back, and then I heard a dial tone. I mean, regardless, it was one of the most courageous things I've ever done. And I'm so glad that my soul chose to be his son, because they say smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people learn from others. And because there are so many broken children, I refuse to raise another. Thank you. It's a personal poem. It always kind of touches me in a very emotional chord. But I say this in hindsight because our relationship has grown and has evolved. And in doing so, it reminds me of this idea of what it means to create generational change, what it means to heal generational trauma, and what it means to leave a legacy behind, to make the world around us better for having been here. This next poem just speaks about legacy and how we can speak legacy into existence and how we can create a legacy for ourselves, all right? I often question if a coffin is where my legacy is destined. A rigor mortis reflection of me, buried 6 feet deep in the six, my legacy, my soul, awaiting the arrival of 12 disciples and no remnants of me. No fruits of labor left from my seeds, not leaving this world better than when I came in. My name, forgotten. Not even whispered upon the lips of those my actions impacted. It's scary. I heard once, that the worst thing that can happen to us when we are no longer here is not death itself. It is to be forgotten. And I just cringe at the thought of my efforts lost in coffins, boxed in the same confines that caused me problems, my life, my beliefs, encrypted in tombstone, indicating the dates to and from. But I hope the dash in between represents more than just the good work I've done. My life blowing in the wind like the breath that has left my lungs, only to leave this world unfulfilled, with holes in the potential that I was given. And respinning the same cycle to my children. See, when your time comes and your soul is sent, what will the dash on your tombstone represent? Because since the day I learned my first word, self-expression has always been second nature. I am a child prodigy of third world parents, so I have to tell my forefathers' stories on paper. Silence for too long, the strength of my tongue sentenced me to a life of righting wrongs. My penmanship bridges the gaps of intergenerational dialogues. Marginalized between the lines of lands my parents traveled, sacrificing the familiarity of home to make ease for me life's inevitable battle. So who am I to not be what I was destined? I mean, who are you to not be what you were destined? Despite school systems that labeled me and sanctioned me to detention, despite the target on my back and private funding to put my melanin in prison correction, I will not be your stereotype. I am made from the essence of stardust above aerial heights. It is not my fault you cannot see the light in me. You cannot enlighten me on your capitalist commodities. I am the rose that still adapted to blossom out of colonized concrete. Capitalizing on conquered conquest my predecessors paved, placing poetic politic on history's page. It is these pages cut from my family trees that once hung our forefathers as slaves. It is these pages I tell their stories. It is these lines they once hung from I celebrate their glory, just to stay connected to my roots. See, these pages are sacred. It's how hip-hop's essence began as pure truth. But see, these days, I can't relate to what a lot of rappers are saying in the booth. Because see, the spoken word is a gift. And you can emanate life or death by the mere intention coming out of your lips. We can speak dreams into existence, creating a world united or divided, so you can choose to be the change or remain silenced. You can choose to be the change or remain silenced. By size, the tongue is the strongest muscle in our bodies for a reason. It is a tool to connect us to the divine. More than just speaking, it keeps us believing. It is a portal between time and space mixed, the inspiration of ancient hieroglyphs. See, our words can build dynasties and mend broken bonds. Our words can create vitality and give us the freedom of redemption songs. Our words can live beyond us like MLK's dream to see us free at last. So be mindful. Be mindful of the words and intentions that leave the sacredness of your tongue. Be mindful of the words and the intentions that leave from the sacredness of your tongue. We are powerful vessels. The Creator etched presence into our lungs, so you have a gift within you. Leave a legacy that will continue. Etch your name in the dendrochronology of history's pages. Do not allow the from and to on your tombstone just to be dated. Let the dash in between reveal the story you told and of the magic that you created. Thank you, y'all. That was two poems I merged into one, The Dash and The Power of the Tongue. And I just think legacy is something that we have an opportunity to create every day. You know, your legacy is being created this moment, right now, as we speak. And it's really important to understand that you have a talent and a gift that you were given to share with the world. And by not sharing it, it's a disservice. And so I just want to encourage everyone, if you have something that you've found inside of you, a gift, a talent, don't be afraid to share with the world, man. You know, I was a troubled kid, got myself into a lot of trouble. I was being suspended and arrested at a very young age. And lo and behold, you know, the government appoints me as their first poet laureate. So anything is possible to make happen. I want to share this next piece. It's a bit of a political poem. When I think about what's been happening in this past year, I think about some of the adversities and some of the challenges that many of us have had to go through. I think about the racial tension that's been happening in the world. I think about the systemic oppression that's been happening in the world. I'm so grateful for a lot of the consciousness that's been raised, for folks who have been rallying to ensure that indigenous rights, equity, Black rights, and everybody has a fair say. Like, we all can be who we are and not be subjugated to systematic oppression, and I'm just keeping it kind of kosher on that level, but this piece is called The Western World. I grew up in Africa. I grew up in Ghana from the age of 1 to 6. And when I came to Canada, I realized just how this Western world is appealing. It's commercialized. You're being told that there's a certain way of freedom, but the freedom comes with a cost. Free isn't always free. So anyways, this is the Western world. In this Western world where war is waged, we wear our wounds like warriors. Hearts on sleeves, we wear our wounds like tattoos written across our iris. We see the world in a peaceful violence, yet speak of the world in the ways in which we've been silenced. Like how they erect women like queens, then Mirandize a lady's liberties in a New York Minute, strip you bare of your culture and ethnicity, tell you you are free, yet criminalize you before you're proven guilty. They treat innocence like business, breaking bonds, then stock people in cells like product and trade you when they lose interest. The price we pay in exchange for freedom. The American dream is a war between spirit and sin we've yet to wake up from. This dream is a nightmare for us melanated beings who walk in the light. We are immigrants who left our rights at the borders we crossed. We came from broken land to stolen land. This true north, strong and free. This economic monopoly to commodify me. This land has clouded my vision, clouded my melanin and made me feel blue. Man, they blackmail me with white lies and I'm in search of truth, in search of change, no purple rain. They're yellow-bellied cowards green with envy. People who'd rather see me on gray concrete, soulless and empty, as my red blood runs towards a pot of gold, the fleeting rainbow that colors the canvas of a 2,000-year-old genocide. The paintbrush, a gun they use like exercise to run this country. Race is a fundraise marathon that's gotten the world off track. I said race is a fundraise marathon that's gotten the world off track. Too many issues to get our reparations back for being black and excellent. Man, they kill black bodies and extract their melanin for medicine. We are lab rats in a social experiment. They put fluoride in our water to make us docile and chemicals in our food we cannot pronounce. Man, that's the stuff we need to keep out of our mouths. They use our names as bonds of ownership. That's why they capitalize our names so they can capitalize on our names. We are modern day slaves in search of freedom. Growing up in the 6, when I was 7, I knew brothers that never ate, so they started carrying 9s. One more time, I said growing up in the 6, when I was 7, I knew brothers that never ate, so they started carrying 9s. Like my best friend who started selling rocks and turned them to boulders. He started packing the heat because the waves were getting colder. See, I don't condone selling poison to make a living, but we don't control the drugs that cross this border into this new world order. Obama succeeded the snakes in the bush, but only for America to pull the Trump card when we didn't look. Like a game of president, it's politics. That's why sometimes I'm hesitant to vote, just in case they ain't true, though. So I fear the world my children will inherit. I fear the world my children will inherit. So I do my best before they come, before I perish, to be the change I wish to see. So I wear my heart on my sleeves. Tattooed across my skin are my wounds of this utopia I believe, in hopes of brighter tomorrows. Because every sunrise, a black mother's nature is mourning the death of her son at his wake. Mourning has become a ritual of survival, a coping mechanism, a means of honoring our reincarnated ancestors, because life and death coexist in the form of faith and breath. In the fleeting moment of an inhale, a reminder it is a gift to be alive. Despite the pain tattooed behind my eyes, here I stand. Tattooed across my skin are my wounds, the plight of this African Canadian man. Whew. That one takes a lot out of me too, because there's a lot of people who are struggling right now. A lot of people, despite where they live in the world, the color of their skin, their sexual orientation, their gender, people are being oppressed in so many different ways. And I think it's really important that we speak up, especially me as an artist, that I speak up about what's happening. There's a systematic oppression that's happening to a lot of different folks. And so I wanted to write that piece to highlight, what's been going on, but speaks from my own perspective as someone who navigates as a melanated African individual living in this Canadian context. My last piece that I have for you guys, this one's a little bit fun with a little bit of controversy. What good is art if you're not going to call out truth? Nina Simone talks about it all the time, that it's really important as an artist that we speak up about the times, that we speak up about what's happening in the world, because we have an opportunity while folks are listening to make a difference in the world. And one of the ways I wanted to make a difference in the world was by writing a book. And my book is called I'm Not My Struggles. I published this book 3 years ago. It's called I'm Not My Struggles. This is my story in a nutshell, And it just really speaks to some of the adversity, the challenges that I've gone through, the hardships. And I titled it I'm Not My Struggles basically because we are not defined by our struggles. Our struggles are not who we are. They just happen to be things that we experience. And in fact, most people it's easier to identify with your struggles. And so I wanted to make sure that it was an affirmation that people would remember that they are not their struggles. You are not defined by your struggles. I think we are designed by our struggles. So you can get a copy of my book on my website. It's randelladjei.com, or you can email me at info@randelladjei.com. Again, my last piece, you can also find it in this book. It's called Double Entendre. I really love the notion of a double entendre. For those of you who are unaware of what a double entendre is, in French, it basically means a double meaning. So when you're able to create a line or a few words that have two different meanings, and you'll catch it, a few of them, many of them might go over your head, but you'll catch a few of them throughout this piece. If you walked a mile in my shoes, you know that my soul can never be defeated. I've got New Balances, they can't tie me in a race. I stand tall while they stay seated. I'm 10 toes down above these concrete streets, reaching for higher feats, cause I know I'll meet death again soon, but much later. My mother resurrected this rotten apple, and my poetry and I are the fruits of her labor. These lines are praiseworthy, but all praises are due to the woman on the other side of the umbilical cord who birthed me. She gave my souls a new journey, a new path, so I right the wrongs in my past to evolve to become better than my dad, because every day I prayed to evolve so my legacy lives on. Beyond my time here on earth to inspire truth with my words, because I seen too many pupils die late or die too early. The school system has cataracts in need of surgery. If I ruled the world, I'd set it free. Eradicating tyranny, abolishing the fear of world peace, because some rich folks fear giving up a piece of the pie. Like boys in the hood, we die to get there when they drive by. We get the rear view in hindsight, because black murder is always sour in the limelight. Some people are sheep and haven't heard the word, scared to take action, no verb. I got friends no longer counting sheep since token herb. Because of rise, they open their eyes to spoken word. Like good shepherds, we spoke and y'all heard. This might go over your head if you haven't used herb before, but I got something you never heard before. A high vegan spitting poetry, now that's a herbivore. So I water these words with these words I spit. A rapid waterfall of homonyms, like God said to Noah, I'm promising that your story is prominent. I vow well, no consonants. I got more punchlines than a high school prom. Crown me king, cause my queen and I harmonize like a flowetry song. You say this African vessel can't spit, you in the Nile. Drown in my waves of double entendres, my poetry is fertile and bears life every time I write in black ink for the wrongs done against black skin. I write bars to build on my penmanship. For all my brothers denied their rights, serving life sentences. F a prison industrial complex, and everybody invested in that nonsense. It's World War II against blackness. They'd rather see us cornered in caskets, either 6 feet deep or 6 feet tall. They just do it to get a check off our baskets. If the eyes are the windows to the soul, just know our society is blinded. Because everything that glitters ain't gold. Slavery ain't over. There's still Africans in Libya being sold. I don't need to see TV. I get the news on my phone. They tied the noose too long. The cords of technology are downloading our intellectual property. I don't need a bitten apple to receive from the tree of knowledge. My queen's retina displays enough. There's no macking behind these optics. If only Apple's conception of products were really immaculate, because they'll burn your pockets faster than immaculate. If only Steve's job didn't die with him in the ambulance. If only the bitten apple wasn't blamed and branded on Adam's ribs, we'd probably have more respect for women. And we need to be careful of the examples that we set for our children, because these days, sex sells more than sex cells being divided. Like PennIsland.com stripped down, it's hard to hide it. I don't watch porn, it's desensitizing. I'm my own master, not the bait. I can't do a 9 to 5 like 14 days. I'm too weak to sacrifice my passion for pay. I'd rather be my own boss, ride my own wave, drowning in this flowetry. I got a boatload of wordplay by the lake, so I let my mother beam over her son into my last days and then shine brighter than the diamonds on Rihanna's new bae. I mean, I still put in that work, but I ain't no modern day slave. I ain't no modern day slave. I ain't no modern day slave. Thank you, y'all. That was my set. I want to just take an opportunity to say thank you to CMI and thank you to TD for making this possible. It's just great to be able to share poetry, especially at a time like this when I think poetry could really go on listening ears. And to leave you off with something, I spoke about this idea of legacy earlier. And anytime I get an opportunity to speak, I want to make sure this goes on the ears of as many people as possible. So many of us look to our ancestors. We look to our grandparents for perhaps coming here, or our parents for coming here. We look to those that came before them and what they did in order for us to have the opportunities that we have today, for the sacrifices, the investments that they've made, everything they did just for us to be here. And I want to just share, like, one day you too will be someone's ancestor. One day you will be able to leave a legacy behind that will make it easier for the people that come behind you. So I guess my only question I want to ask you is this: what legacy will you leave behind? Thank you so much. My name is Randell Adjei. It's been a pleasure sharing some poetry with y'all today. Peace.